This Week in Startups is brought to you by WordPress. Your business needs an online home. It needs a WordPress.com website. Go to WordPress.com/twist to create your website and find the plan that's right for you. That's WordPress.com/twist for 15% off your brand new website. And LinkedIn. LinkedIn has marketing tools to help you target your customers with precision. To redeem a free $100 LinkedIn ad credit and launch your first campaign, go to linkedin.com/thisweekinstartups.
Hey everybody, welcome to This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis, an angel investor here in Silicon Valley, and I'm always on the lookout for new, interesting software projects and companies to invest in. If you need me to invest in your startup company and you want to build a billion-dollar company, just email jason@calacanis.com, my last name, and I will send you money, and we can build a billion-dollar company together. It's that simple, people. Just email jason@calacanis.com, get an investment from me of $100,000 for 6% of your company, and we will get rich together. I kid, but I have been emailed by people, and then I've looked at their products and gone, this is a really interesting product. I will invest in the company. And one of those products that I looked at and said, this is a really interesting product, I should invest in this company, was Airtable. And I looked at it and I said, this is fascinating, I should invest. And you know what happened? I never reached out to the founder. I didn't invest. And like an idiot, I've lost millions of dollars not investing in Howie Liu's company, Airtable, which everybody was buzzing about. It was clear to me that you had something going on, Howie. Can I call you Howie?
Sure, please.
Is that what people refer to you as, Howie?
Yeah, go by Howie.
Not Howard.
Nope.
Is your literal name Howard?
My official first name is Howard. That's what it shows.
But you go by Howie. I love it. It's very casual. Yeah. I like it. And everybody was buzzing about, all the nerds were buzzing about Airtable a couple years ago. And I was like, I should really invest in that company because all these nerds, and I'm talking about productivity nerds. To be clear, there's a class of people who are obsessed with productivity. I think you're one of those people, aren't you, Howie?
I really don't think I am.
Oh, really?
We don't really think of ourselves as a productivity company per se. And I actually think, everybody is an inner nerd in some way, or another. But, we really think of ourselves as a platform that powers creators and, kind of embellishes the creativity inside everyone. And so it's more of, I think, entrepreneurial and creative people tend to come to Airtable and use it to build out their own software.
And that's where what is Airtable comes in. Now, you've raised $62 million to date. I know my friends at CRV are big investors. Yep. Were they the Series A investors too?
They were, yes.
So they're a great venture firm here in the Valley, and Ashton Kutcher and a bunch of other folks are A-Grade Investments is his firm. David Tisch, my friend from New York. You got a lot of great investors. It's going obviously very well. People pay $10, $20 a month for this. You have enterprise users. And I've had many people tell me, oh, it's like Paradox or DBase from the old days in the 80s or 90s, or it's a relational database, or it's like Excel with a database, or it's like SurveyMonkey with an Excel. It's like Microsoft Office. What is Airtable, and why can none of your customers who are passionate about your product, Howie, explain to me what this is?
Yeah, so
it's confusing to me.
It's a great point, and I think we've always been challenged with this question of how do you sum
Airtable
in the one sentence pitch, right? And I think we in some way have just kind of embraced the fact that as a product that really does a lot of things and means different things to different people, it's going to inevitably have a different way of being explained to different audiences. Or
how do you explain it?
So it really, honestly, it depends on who the audience is. So
so you're proving the point that even you cannot explain your own product.
Yes. maybe for lack of our having figured out a better single, kind of universal theme that really concisely captures what and why it is.
Okay, give me the example of somebody using it, an example that makes Airtable shine.
Yeah, so
our audience understands why they should go check out airtable.com.
Yeah, I mean, what we're really proud of is the heterogeneity of the use cases. So on the one hand, we have literal cattle farmers managing livestock and in fact replacing, kind of older vertical software solutions. Like CattleMax is one example. We've actually been written up in a livestock related trade publication as the new database for farmers and livestock farmers to use, all the way to kind of major companies. So for instance, we have a lot of media brands, so Condé Nast Entertainment, Time, BuzzFeed, et cetera, that actually use us to power major parts of their content planning workflows. So this is sort of coming in and giving the editors or the people with the kind of most direct knowledge of the business side of what they're trying to do to be able to actually go and create the software and workflows that best empowers it. So we really think of ourselves as this platform that lets anybody come in, regardless of industry or use case or company type, and basically build their own internal workflows.
Got it. So workflows, and this reminds me of a discussion I had with the folks over at Lotus when they released a product called Lotus Notes. I wonder if you know that product.
Yes. So by complete chance, I had the fortune of being paired with Mitch Kapoor as my mentor for a previous company that I worked on that went through YC, and it was this formal YC kind of network program. But had a chance to learn from him, and also certainly followed a lot about Lotus.
Mitch Kapoor created Lotus 123, of course, the spreadsheet. And that's how most people would describe Airtable. That's the core functionality. There's a table or a spreadsheet where you can put data in.
Yeah. So I think one of the interesting things is if you kind of rewind the clock and look back at 123 and also VisiCalc before it, spreadsheets were really created for this original purpose of being numerical tools, right? So they were literally designed to do financial analysis and planning. And actually the term spreadsheet was this physical world kind of metaphor of, people would create tables on chalkboards and kind of do the number crunching by hand. And, when
like a ledger.
Totally, exactly. And it was this, when it first came out, it was this incredible kind of almost magical experience because suddenly that ledger took a life of its own. It kind of saved you countless hours of work. I think in practice, what we've seen over the past 40 years is really that spreadsheets have evolved far beyond that original purpose and now has taken on almost a two-sided life where, on the one hand, certainly in the financial world, people still use Excel and Google Sheets as this numerical tool. So number crunching, all the crazy formulas. But on the other hand, and arguably the vast majority of actual usage is not even number crunching related, but it's really organizing things. So, keeping track of a structured list of customers or inventory, livestock, for instance, projects, events, et cetera. And for that purpose, spreadsheets were never really optimized to be a great organizational tool or a workflow tool. So, we kind of come in and we're not trying to categorically replace or be better than Excel. They're always going to be better at number crunching than us. But we think that we can create this entirely new breed of kind of tool that inherits a lot of the best parts of a spreadsheet. So the flexibility, the intuitive kind of, once you've learned the primitive constructs, you can almost build all the emergent complexity you want from that. You really kind of are in control of your own destiny when you use a spreadsheet.
So when you're using a spreadsheet, let's say you're using something like Google Sheets for your conference that you're throwing, and you're like, okay, here are all the paid tickets, here are all the attendees, here's the budget, and you have these different tabs. That was not the original purpose. You might do the budget, but you're not going to put, here's our punch list of things to do the day of, here's our punch list afterwards, here's our survey, and here's everybody's roles, and there's a roles tab, and then here's our equipment list. This was something that people used. They kind of hacked spreadsheets into this usage because spreadsheets originally didn't handle text very well. You type text and it would try to make it into a formula.
Yeah, I mean, it still does that today. I think I get tripped up by Excel every time I type something in. It's like, do you want to put an equal sign and turn this into a formula?
Right. You're like, I want to wrap the text. And I wanted to, format cleanly.
Exactly. And I think there's a whole slew of other features that Airtable has that you don't even realize you're missing from Excel. So for instance, basic things like attaching files. I mean, you just can't do that in Google Sheets or Excel. And it's a very common use case. If you have that list of, kind of events or people at those events, you might want some kind of PDF associated with each line item. Totally. Image, or even just having other types of, data stored in there. So, beyond even just numbers and text, and admittedly, Excel doesn't even handle text that well. There obviously many different types of data that you might want to put in there. So for instance, you might want to have a checkbox field, and you just can't do that in a very native way with Google Sheets or Excel. You have to hack it by putting like a letter X,
I put a 1 and a 0 and then I total it. So you can put an actual checkbox that says confirmed. This person is confirmed to come to the event.
Totally.
How many people, because you've been at it since, I think, 2012?
Correct.
That's when you launched.
So we actually launched in 2015. The first 3 years from 2012 to 15, we're basically building out the product and kind of
3 years in the lab.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah.
Because I remember hearing about it when people were using it in beta. So 2015 you launched it. It's 2018 now.
Yes.
How many people, ballpark, are you using this product every day?
So we're not sharing the specific numbers. What we can say is that many thousands of people organically discover and sign up for Airtable every single day, and they range across a wide variety of different industries, use cases. I think we were blown away early on at how much need there was for this tool beyond just kind of the inner circle of kind of Silicon Valley types or
thousands of people using it a day, signing up a day, so that means you have to have hundreds of thousands of people at least using it every day.
Certainly.
Something, it could even be millions. And so you're up against Google Office and Microsoft Office are your two main competitors.
So I think it's kind of an interesting competitive landscape because there really aren't any head-to-head competitors, right? So Google Sheets, Excel certainly compete with us in that sort of dichotomous use case on the one half of it, but they're kind of an imperfect competitor. So in some sense, like we're not really threatened. They're the status quo, and we're coming in and providing that 10x better solution for a wide swath of use cases. On the other hand, you have a lot of like vertical solutions. So I mentioned CattleMax earlier.
Yeah.
But they're
custom software is what people would call it.
Exactly. And really a lot of these pieces of software are not much more than just a hard-coded database. So they somebody has gone out and built a relational database with a hard-coded schema, some kind of data model, and you don't get any control of that as a business end user, and you just kind of get this interface on top of it that lets you read and write and edit records. And so, for a lot of those use cases, we've discovered countless, we didn't even know there was such a fractal of vertical software out there, but we come in and often see Airtable getting, adopted to replace one of those solutions.
You know what I like about you, Howie? You are genuinely excited about the fact that you have evolved the spreadsheet. I love it. Yeah. You are so excited about this. It's great that there is an entrepreneur in the world who wanted to improve this because it hasn't improved in 2 decades, in my estimation. The actually only improvement was putting it in the cloud, which was Google's about 10 years ago. And actually maybe Zoho Office was the first to put it in the cloud, I think. I'm not sure who gets credit for putting the first spreadsheet in the cloud. Do you remember?
Say it was, so certainly Google was the first to do the real-time collaborative experience. And I want to say they were also the first to do it in the cloud, but I'm not entirely sure of that.
Zoho or something.
They bought Rightly and Zentor to basically,
jumpstart
those teams, correct, into the
pretty
docs
crazy
and
history.
the Sheets products.
All right, when we get back from this quick break, I want to do 2 things. One, I want you to show us a great example of an Airtable, and then I want to understand how you get people to pay for a product that doesn't fit into an existing category and that they're already, in all likelihood, paying for either through their Microsoft Office or their Google Docs account when we come back on This Week in Startups. Yes, WordPress.com. We use it here for calacanis.com, my own personal website, and thisweekinstartups.com, and we use it every day. Your business needs an online home, you know this, and it needs a WordPress.com website. It makes it so easy for your customers to connect with you, and they can find you super simple because WordPress.com is super SEO optimized, it's easy to use, and they take care of all that technical stuff. Everything is done for you, your site's up and running in minutes, and they have an incredible customer support team ready to help you 24 hours a day, Monday through Friday. And on weekends. That's the punchline there, huh? It's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and plans start at just $4 a month. And of course, all WordPress plans include a custom domain name for the life of the plan. In other words, you get your domain name for free. Come to WordPress.com and you will see why 28% of websites run on WordPress. I'm not saying blogs, I'm not saying content sites, I'm saying all websites, all sites on the web. 28% of them run WordPress.com. That's because WordPress.com is so amazing. It has so many features. I literally could do 3 hours just reading the feature list and make everybody go bonkers. And we'd have to do a whole podcast. There must be a podcast out there about WordPress. Anyway, I could go on and on. Get started today with 15% off any new plan. So go to wordpress.com/twist, wordpress.com/TWIST to create your website and find the plan that is right for you. wordpress.com/twist for 15% off your brand new website. Okay. Thanks so much, WordPress. We really appreciate your support for thisweekinstartups.com and calacanis.com. So let's get back to this amazing episode. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to This Week in Startups. We host this show twice a week. I should say I host the show twice a week because it's a lot of effort. I put this effort in every week. I drag myself down to the studio. I meet a great entrepreneur like Howie, who's got incredible enthusiasm for spreadsheets and databases. May I ask you, how did you become such a spreadsheet database nerd? Were you like a kid who got paid to do this?
No.
What happened? When did you fall down the rabbit hole of productivity software?
The dark side. No, I mean, honestly, I think what interested me about this product area is, really that it's not necessarily about the spreadsheet as you see it today. Excel. There's nothing particularly exciting to me about the sheer product that is Excel or even Google Sheets. But it's really what people are doing with it. So, I mean, if you think about kind of the amount of unrestricted creative freedom that people have to go and build their own workflows and really create their own software.
When you say workflows, what does that mean for somebody who doesn't understand what you're saying?
Yeah. So what I mean is that, there's all kinds of things that you do in every business, right? So, for an events company, you keep track of all of the different types of events. You mentioned some of the ticketing and kind of staffing use cases. And what I mean by workflow is really just the literal kind of step-by-step, kind of action of going and doing the things that actually, make work happen for whatever business you have. So really just work in general.
So you sell a sponsorship for a conference and you have to get a signature from the sponsor, then you have a punch list of deliverables that they have to give you,
Exactly.
and then you have to give them deliverables, and then they have to fill a survey out at the end. This is all something that has to be done by a human.
Right.
But you can program it into Airtable.
Exactly. Yeah. So, with Airtable, you're basically able to create your own data schema and create your own flow, kind of how do you want that workflow to look? And we have things like a Kanban view, so sort of getting to drag cards across a process, as well as many other types that let you really kind of visualize your specific nature of work in the way that makes sense to you. So
okay, so let's, a demo is worth a million words, so let's have you pull up Airtable here, Howie, and if you want to follow Howie while he's pulling up his Airtable on Twitter, he's Howie TL. If you want to be on Twitter with the Russian bots, all the Russian bots love Airtable too. By the way, they're putting all of their you don't know this, Howie, but Putin and his whole crew, they're putting all the misinformation. That's how they manage all their Russian bots. So you are actually as culpable as Twitter and Facebook in throwing the election for Trump. I kid, Howie. Let's show your Airtable here.
Sure. So what you're looking at right now is basically kind of the default view of Airtable. You come in and you kind of see something that looks like a spreadsheet. It's got a lot of the same design patterns and behaviors. So you can
cells, columns, rows. Looks familiar.
And I think we, what you may not kind of realize is that, you don't get any of this kind of for free out of, any existing framework or platform that you build on. And we have to build all this from scratch. So, we literally went and replicated all of the desirable behavior of a spreadsheet. So you can select multiple cells, you can copy and paste, you can, kind of drag things around as you would like. But where it gets interesting is that you can start doing things that weren't before possible in a spreadsheet. So, very immediately you can kind of tell that there are different field types, including images. We have a drop down here. We have actually a phone number formatted field. There's checkboxes and all kinds of other fields that you can't create in a spreadsheet. You can also link between different tables. So as one of your live viewers mentioned, Airtable is a database. And so what you can do is actually create these relational kind of structures that allow you to tie, for instance, in this case, funny enough, this is actually an events use case.
There we go.
And did not get the hint from Jason ahead of time that
we didn't
be
actually
talking about events. It's completely serendipitous. But this one's actually modeled, off of an actual customer of ours. So Insomniac Events is this incredible kind of events and also production company for EDM. And they actually run the largest and sort of best EDM festivals in the world. In fact,
now you're really smiling. Is this something? Really, this is another one of your passions?
No, I think. Well, I mean,
are you an EDM guy?
I'm not an EDM expert, and I'm also very, very, very limited in terms of exposure to that world. But I think one of the exciting things about Airtable is that you do kind of get to live vicariously through all the customers. And we work with media companies, retail companies, startups, music companies like this. So that's really exciting to me. It keeps things always kind of dynamic and interesting. But the cool thing about Insomniac is that they actually use Airtable. They completely organically, just through the sort of entrepreneurial efforts of some of their awesome team members, adopted Airtable and started building out all of these workflows in Airtable. And so obviously what you see here on the screen is not the real setup or
it's
data.
Not the real data, right?
Yeah,
you used a template, you put some dummy data in.
It's sort of inspired by the same use case. And so you can have different, staff members. So for instance, staffing festivals of that magnitude. I mean, I think their biggest one is actually bigger than Coachella in terms of attendance. But having a canonical place where they can keep track of all of the different staff members who they might.
What does it mean, canonical? Explain to the audience.
So yeah, I mean, it's a single source of truth, right? So instead of having kind of your list of staff members effectively being kind of scattered and buried across, like you might have one Excel doc that gets out of date, and then you just have people emailing in, and you have some list of people in email. Instead you have a single kind of. I mean, in effect, this is a CRM of sorts, but it's not a CRM in a very narrow sense of like just trying to generate
customer
sales,
relationship
right?
management.
Exactly. I mean, I think
canonical means, hey, I pull up the drop-down menu of staff members. That's coming from another Airtable of our staff members. So every time we want to pull that, if I do a new sheet for a new festival, it's pulling from the same source of the staff members, which somebody else manages.
Right. So that's the beauty of relational tables in Airtable, is that you can have one table of staff members and then link to it from all the other kind of attributes or events, interviewers, positions, tables that you want.
Right. So if the AV department had their inventory and somebody was doing an event, they could say, I need this on this date. I want to go to hit the drop down and pull the inventory from there. I could see the available inventory and look at what's available on that date. You could program something like that, available inventory.
Exactly. And it's, that's just an arbitrary example, and you can basically set it up however you want. So unlike, there are certainly inventory management solutions out there that are kind of hard coded to do things one way. But we have this fundamental belief that every company and, every industry is sort of different, and you should be able to have control over your own software and make it work the way you want.
Right. Because the idea of building custom software for every vertical, it's just so arduous and slow to go through the sales process. Business is so dynamic today, and you're under a lot of pressure. You have a lot of competition. I don't get the sense that people have the time to evaluate the 17 different niche event management software products. They just want to get up and running this hour and get to work. So that's why they use open horizontal software as opposed to vertical software. You're horizontal. You could work in any industry.
Right.
The question I had for you before we went to break was, hey, this is horizontal software that allows you to do anything, but it overlaps with my Microsoft Office, and it overlaps with my Google Sheets in my company, and it costs $20 a person in an enterprise.
So there's
what do you charge an enterprise?
There's a few price points. The Plus and the Pro, which are the self-serve plans that enterprises
10,
do
20
use.
bucks.
Correct. So they're 10 and 20 if you pay annually. That's 10 or 20 per month. Per user.
So $120 a year, $240 a year for a user. If I'm an enterprise and I got 10 people in my company, do I pay more or less?
So you pay more.
Why do I have to pay more?
So you get more of everything. So you get kind of expanded usage limits. You get a lot of administrative control. So certainly things like SSO, and you also get
When you say that SSO, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So SSO is basically where we allow you to use your own authentication system to allow users at your company to use Airtable.
So I don't have to create a whole bunch of new accounts.
Exactly.
I just have the single sign-on, boom.
Right, and you can provision, deprovision those users whenever you want.
So they get all those tools, and that would cost what, $30 in the enterprise a month?
It's more. So it starts at $60 per user per month.
720 a year?
Yeah, so we actually
Marron, this is expensive. No wonder everybody wanted to invest in this company. And I missed it.
I think...
what was that Series A like? That must have been like a $10, $15 million round?
So we raised actually a little bit less than that. It was around $8 million. million, our Series A.
And you just raised 52?
Correct, yeah.
52 million.
Yep,
and that was probably for no more than 20% of the companies. That means a $250 million post.
We're not commenting on the
But I'm in the ballpark.
But sure, yeah.
Because I'm in the ball. It could be 10% of the company. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think we found fair terms that we were happy with.
God, so 8 times 100's 800, cut it in half is 400, cut it in half again is 200. So I would have been like 25 to 50x on my investment.
Yeah.
Oh, God, and I put 100K in. I usually put 100K in. So I would have $5 million if I invested in Airtable. How did I miss it?
Yeah, well,
I'm such an idiot.
I mean, it was early. I mean, we've learned a lot. We've evolved a lot as a product and as a business.
Congratulations.
I mean, thank you. I mean, the A round kind of happened at a time when we had built the kind of V0.8 of the product. Really, we had
so like a
publicly.
wonky beta or.
Well, it was publicly launched, but you know, our product is one that, you know, it's not, you know, like and not to offend the creators of this app, but like a Yo app, right? Like, you know, it's obviously
one-dimensional, simple.
Yeah, so like, and not to say that's a bad app necessarily, but you know, there's a lot of depth in terms of the technical and product and UX complexity to Airtable. So you know, there was a very, very long and arduous.
And CRV put the money in at that point.
Correct. Yeah. So
they took a real gamble on you. What did you have? 3-4 people in the company?
Something, I mean, maybe a little bit more, like somewhere, definitely less than 10, I think.
Wow.
Between 4 and 10.
Look at you, Howie, just crushing it. Oh my God, your parents must be so proud of you.
Yeah, well, thanks.
And if you're raising 50 million, maybe a little secondary came off for Howie. Yum, yum.
No,
a little bit?
No,
did you get a taste or no?
We're in it for the long run.
And, you didn't take any secondary raising 50?
So not commenting on any of that.
You got a little taste.
But no, I mean, I think, you know,
pay for your apartment.
We also think that, you know, at every point in our company's fundraising life cycle, we've been severely undervalued. And, you know,
and this is the full valuation now.
What's that?
Is this valuation, you're happy with it?
No. So, I mean, I think part of that is like...
You raised 50, but you're like, I am not happy with this valuation.
I mean, it's, you know, in the same way that, you know, obviously in the public markets, there's a rational belief by some investors that companies are undervalued. And, you know, that's why, you know, Warren Buffett makes money. You know, I think the same is true in venture. And obviously some companies can maybe hyperbolize their trajectory and get kind of an overvaluation. But in our case, we really deeply believe that because of the kind of profound size of the total addressable market that we're going after, and then also kind of the clear progress and almost like clear projection or path to get to that, we're going to be undervalued by the market. And so, you know, kind of, you know, just...
Well, you're doing something new. And when you do something new, like it's hard to put you in a box.
Right.
Like I had a hard time understanding how you charge.
Yep.
So there is very few software in the enterprise space that is $700-800. Like that is a very small cohort. You're correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are
most things are $30-40 a month.
Right. I think it depends on the you know, if they're true enterprise versus SMB products. You know, if they're collaboration tools like Slack, et cetera. I mean, certainly on the kind of more vertical or you know, kind of solution oriented products, I think there are some products that
Salesforce is like $125 a month.
They go up to $2 or even $250 per user per month now. I mean,
wow, $3,000 a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's
no wonder they've got all these little people nipping at their heels.
Right.
So Salesforce has a lot of. I get pitched a lot on like Salesforce competitors. And
for sure.
People use Airtable, I know, for sales CRM.
Yep.
But here's the exciting part. You have a new product, and it's called Blocks.
Yep.
And you're very excited about it. You worked on this for a little while. And when we get back after this very quick pause for the cause, a little breaky poo to pay the bills, Howie's going to show us Blocks.
Awesome.
And you're very excited about this.
Yes.
You spent, how much time did you spend on Blocks?
Well,
how many months in the making?
It's been certainly more than a year in the making.
A year in the
making.
making.
Actual product development. And as an idea has been around since the very formation of Airtable. It was part of the original roadmap.
I'm super excited about this. All right, when we get back, Howie Liu is going to show us Airtable's Blocks on This Week in Startups. We'll be right back. Yes, LinkedIn is the world's largest professional network. You and I use it every day. And we keep our profiles up to date because your LinkedIn profile is what comes up number 1 or number 2 in any Google search for your name. You know this. We all know this. That's why LinkedIn is a great place for you to advertise. What? You didn't know? LinkedIn has advertising? It does. And their product is amazing. It's going to lead to great leads, website traffic, and even higher brand awareness for you. And here's how it works. Number 1, You know that there are 500 million professionals coming to LinkedIn every day. That's 500 million, if my math is correct. And they are your future customers. Somewhere in there are your customers. So how do you find them? Well, they have marketing tools that let you target your customers based on things like their title, their company name, or even their industry. So if you want to advertise to the CTO or CIO or the VP of engineering at one company or in an industry, go right ahead. Go on LinkedIn, use their ad network to do that. But you might have a different message for the VP of finance or the CFO. Now, why is it important for you to craft a different message to the tech team versus the finance team? Well, your ad will be more effective, and the people reading it will feel more respected. You're going to build more trust, and it's going to have more efficacy. And that's what you're looking for in advertising. We all want to see better ads. So what's better than targeting your customer based on their company name, their title, or what industry they're in? This is what makes LinkedIn's ad offering so powerful. In fact, 4 out of 5 customers on LinkedIn are the decision makers for their company. And that means you're not wasting your time advertising with a bunch of nobodies who you don't know who they are, clicking on ads, and you don't have any idea who you're targeting. You can target specific people by their title, their company name, and industry. And I'm repeating that because I think that's super important. And it's just an amazing product. We've used it. It works. Okay. Now, here's your call to action, and this is incredible. You're going to go to linkedin.com/thisweekinstartups. Now, that's 18 characters you got to type in after linkedin.com. This week in startups. The reward for typing in those 18 letters, they're going to give you $100, a C note, a hundy, $100 for you to use as a LinkedIn ad credit. That's right, $100 in free advertising credits if you go right now to linkedin.com/thisweekinstartups. You're getting like $5-6 every time you type in a letter. This week, LinkedIn.com/thisweekinstartups. And you get that $100 free ad credit. Thanks again to LinkedIn for supporting This Week in Startups. We truly appreciate it. Great product, great services, and get in there. Try their new ad network. Okay, let's get back to this amazing episode. Okay, everybody, welcome back to This Week in Startups. Again, I'm your host, Jason Calacanis. If you've got a company that is going to change the world as much as Airtable and return 50x on my investment, I want to hear from you. Jason at calacanis.com. Unlike other investors who get annoyed when they get email. Isn't it amazing how we have investors are like, I don't know why you're emailing me because I don't invest in your company. It's like, I'm emailing you because you're an investor and I'm a founder.
Right.
Isn't that how this works? Like, it's so persnickety. It's weird. Investors are weird.
Yeah, for sure.
You notice that trend? The weird.
Silicon Valley is weird.
It is a little weird.
Yeah.
But the investors are weird.
Yeah.
They disappear. They go to Aspen for a month. They go to Italy for a month. Like, how many months are you away to places I've never been?
Right.
I've been to Italy and Aspen in the last 2 years. But before that, before I was 40, I'd never been to Aspen or Italy. That's when you know the person is checked out.
Right.
They are not working hard. Have you been to Italy or Aspen?
I have.
In the last year?
Hopefully. I did do a vacation to Italy. I haven't been to Aspen.
Okay, good. So you're only half distracted.
Right.
You did a little Italy. Right. How many days on that vacation?
That was it was one of the longer vacations I've taken.
10?
No, it was, I think, maybe a week and a half.
Okay,
I believe
10 days?
Obviously, for me, it's difficult to completely check out during that time. So I'm checking emails and I'm like helping people if they need my
working
my kind of
remote,
feedback.
putting 2 hours a day in, checking the email beginning and end of the day. I like
exactly. Or even like walking around. I mean, it's so easy to get the kind of global internet plans these days. You're just kind
that is nice.
Checking out Slack in your downtime. But I think it's important for companies and founders to set an example to where, especially for us, where we're really projecting, we're going for the long haul, and we think that even
it's a marathon.
From where we're at, yeah, totally. And even from where we're at, we think we have 1,000x, kind of returns waiting to kind of be claimed in terms of growth. And so, that's going to be a multi-decade long journey. And so totally a marathon. I think founders not taking vacation at all is sort of an unhealthy signal to the rest of the company as well.
But over 10 days, and if you do Aspen in Italy in the same year, I'm a little worried.
Right.
When I hear Italy for a month, that's when I get a little worried.
Yeah, maybe there's a lot of brainstorming going on
And in fairness, I'm going to Malibu for the summer. I'm literally trying to. This is my goal. I'm 47.
Yeah,
I'm ahead of you on this whole train we call life.
Right.
I'm going to spend August. This is my goal, my dream. Nice. Spend August on the beach in Malibu. I'm going to try to make it happen this summer.
Yeah. Well,
last summer I did 2 weeks. This week I'm going to try to do a full month of vacation. First time in my life.
Real vacation?
Nah, I'll do. You know me. I'll do a couple podcasts from the beach.
Yeah.
I can't help myself. I'll be
Right.
checking email, I'll do some investor meetings.
Right.
But I want to do a month at the beach. I've always dreamed. Did you ever take a month vacation in your life?
I did. I had the fortune of between basically when I exited my previous company, E814, and had joined Salesforce through that acquisition and then left there and then starting Airtable, I had kind of actually a fairly long period of 6 months where it was sort of a sabbatical.
Nice.
It was it wasn't really vacation. I mean, I took a few awesome trips here and there, including one to Uganda with a nonprofit called Samasource, which was probably the most
Samasource,
impactful.
of course.
So fantastic organization and really a
What's the name of the
trip.
founder? I forgot.
So Lila.
Lila. She's amazing.
Yeah.
We have to have Lila on the podcast.
Yeah.
Emmy Award-winning producer Jackie, Samasource, Lila. This is an incredible company. Tell everybody what she does.
Yeah, so I mean, the basic pitch of Samasource is give work, and what I mean by that is, they believe that the long-term and sustainable path to economic development, is really to create sources of income through actual work, and so in particular, they're setting up computer labs or working with, sometimes kind of centers or kind of local, kind of computer labs in various areas, including Uganda, and finding American basically corporate clients to basically have outsourced work that can be digitized and performed on by distributed talent. And so, really awesome way of getting really talented folks in other places to.
And you're sending fishing poles and teaching people to fish, not just saying here's a bunch of fish and come back in a year, we'll get you more fish. It's like, hey, here's how you fish. Here's how you build a fishing farm.
Right.
And she does this as a business.
Right.
I think I don't know if it's a nonprofit or a B Corp.
To be honest, I haven't kept up with them for the past couple of years. So I know that at one point they were actually considering, some various kind of structures. But originally and for the first, X years, it was definitely a 501c3 nonprofit. But even in that
Such
regard,
a good idea.
I mean, it's a unique one in that it actually looks to have a sustainable source of income.
All right, Howie, let's get back to you and your product, Airtable. If you haven't seen Airtable, you can play with it for free for a little while, or you have to put up the $10.
No, it's so we have a perpetually free plan.
Nice.
And we think that, especially in a category defying space like we're in, it's really important to give people kind of unadulterated access to basically understand the product, kind of test it out, play around with it, and even adopt it with real kind of business workflows and derive value from it.
But once you need to collaborate, you got to pay.
So it's actually not based on collaboration. So that was an interesting decision that we made early on. So, I know a lot of other products in this space, like Asana, for instance. I think there's some hard wall of like, if you go over X number of users, you immediately start paying for all of those users and the next one.
I think Asana's now, because I've been using it. Yeah, they may have. We're loving Asana, but they the feature that they do is if you want to have private groups or private like tasks and stuff like that. So eventually you're using Asana and you're like, oh, I need to do something with the finance, like everybody's reviews.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I can't let everybody see every task in the review process or project X, some special project. So that's where they get you. But I was using it for a couple of months and then I was like, I kind of just want to pay them so they don't go away.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy. If you use software, just at some point pay so it doesn't go away.
Yep.
All right.
Well, that's very generous of you, I think.
No, I think a lot of people are starting to have this epiphany that if they don't pay for the New York Times or Washington Post, it goes away.
Definitely.
If they steal music, it goes away, so pay for Spotify. And the same with software. If you hack software, if you steal Photoshop, there will be no more Photoshop.
Right.
And software is so cheap with this monthly licensing concept, which didn't exist 10 years ago. Everybody just paid. You'd have to pay $800 in advance or $400 in advance for something like Airtable.
Give you a paper box around the CD. And,
exactly. You'd have to go to CompUSA and get it. And it just was a bummer for people. So everybody, if you're listening, make sure you go try airtable.com, airtable.com. All right. Howie, now is the moment for you to show us Blocks.
Awesome.
The newest product from Airtable.
Yep.
What is this product?
So
Explain it to us.
So if Airtable in a pre-Blocks world was sort of a database that anybody could use, right? And you can create your own workflows on top of it. And there are lots of cool features, different view types, interacting with your content. Blocks is sort of like a way to actually get apps that run on top of Airtable. So what I mean by that is, I'll pop this open really quick, and this is our blocks panel on the right side of the screen. And what it basically allows you to do is take these apps that initially only we as Airtable have created. So sort of like early days of Apple, launching the iPhone. Originally, the kind of intent of the iPhone was to only allow Apple to build the apps on there. And obviously, through great, to Steve Jobs' perhaps chagrin, like they kind of decided eventually to open it up.
Let's open it up.
And yeah, I mean, now it's like the value of the iPhone is like probably 99% the ecosystem.
Well, and if you look at the actual contribution of what they call services, which includes music, movies, TV shows, books, and apps, it's becoming a major contributor to their revenue.
Right.
And eventually, if iPhones keep going out there to all parts of the world, especially with the recycling and having them in India and China, where people, that's where our iPhone 6s go and 7 go, those people getting them, now you're going to start having perhaps such a large ecosystem of iPhones that services would be more revenue potentially than new phone sales.
Wow.
Which would be crazy.
Yeah.
When you think about it. It's like,
yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Because they're high margin, the phones.
Right.
So let's get back to you here.
Sure.
So we see a map. So I'm looking at my Airtable on the left. It's the same Airtable we're using for the event company. But now we have a block, which I guess we could call think of like an app.
Yep.
Of a map.
So yeah, this block is one of the multiple blocks that we have installed on this base. And we have sort of this app store interface where you can choose which block you want to add. And basically the idea with the map block is that, what's interesting is that there's actually not a good way out there to create a custom map of some set of, whatever your POIs are, points of interest. In this case, it's venues for your festivals, right? So obviously Google Maps, you can go in and like type in each, place one at a time and add it to some saved collection.
Oh God, it's arduous.
It's arduous, and it also doesn't let you kind of attach the interesting metadata to each of those points,
my God,
right? And get that workflow.
This.
So here, what you're able to do.
I use this all the time because I have a sheet with all the locations we could use for the next launch festival,
right.
And if I could see them all on a map,
exactly.
This is something I would ask for,
yeah,
and I wouldn't be able to get because they'd be like, oh, it's not worth the hour to set it up. So you're telling me I could just point to that column and like making a chart, it makes a map?
Exactly. So
brilliant.
And the best part of it is that, as with every other part of Airtable, everything is completely customizable. So, we haven't gone in and kind of predetermined how you want to run your map use case. But instead, it's exactly like you described. When you go and set up the map block, you get to choose which of these tables is the thing that you want to apply. And you could have multiple tables. You could have multiple maps for a given use case. Venues, but also maybe the location of staff and resources.
Sure.
And so you get to completely customize what that is. You get to customize what view, so you can filter out certain records, only those that meet a certain criteria. So it's very dynamic. You can say...
So I could say only show the maps that are only show the locations that are level 1 locations that have the perfect, not the level 2 and level 3. It's just show me the best ones.
Right. And you might even have, you could create
Tier
a workflow
1.
where you've created a checkbox field and you just get to hand pick, like, these are my personal favorites. I just have an instinct that these are great
I'll add a column.
venues.
These are Jason's picks.
Exactly. Jason's picks. And then you can create a map that shows all of Jason's picks. Another one that's, everybody's
Jackie's picks.
Jackie's picks, or both, right?
Love it.
And, so it's
genius.
There's a lot more that we can do on each one of these blocks.
Can I export that and publish it somewhere? Could I get a snippet and put that on? So let's say I had all the maps of, places where events were going on at Launch Festival Sydney tonight. Mm-hmm. And then I could have a snippet like the one you use at YouTube to paste it somewhere. I could actually put it in a blog post and then I'd be publishing. So Airtable would be the place where the group was managing the data. Then we had the internal use of the map, but then we have the external.
Right.
You have that yet?
So actually,
or it can be built into a block.
We have it. I don't actually know if this is completely public yet. I know we've been beta testing it. With some of our
I don't mean
customers.
to jump down the road.
No, but it's a great point. I mean, you could basically create an embed of any of these blocks. Eventually, at some point in the near future, you can embed it into a blog post on your website, for instance, if you want, or even into like an invite or something like that.
This reminds me of like when you're making a chart in Excel, you can change the labels, you can change from a histogram to a pie chart to a line chart to a fill chart, whatever it is. But nobody ever had the thought, well, what other items are in the database, in the sheet, in the cells that could be published out? A map is a perfect example. Photos would be another example. Can you do a collage or something or a gallery?
So we actually
Did you make that block yet?
So we actually have a default view that is a gallery. So in some sense, that was already there before the block.
Look at
you
that.
can actually
Boom.
embed this and you customize the cards, use whatever image field you
So
want.
here you took, just so people who are listening understand, you took a sheet of all the speakers, let's say, and the contacts, and you put it in a card view?
Exactly. So
is that what it's called, card view?
It's called the gallery view, but kind of the core premise of Airtable is that, and one of the big differentiators versus a spreadsheet, you go to a spreadsheet and it's basically a sea of cells, and it doesn't put any restrictions or suggestions as to how you lay out your data. Like you could put your data, you could list your contacts or your venues in diagonals if you want. Like Excel doesn't care, right? And with Airtable, we're a little bit more prescriptive in saying like each row is a thing. It's an object. Like lay your data out in row by row form, not vertical by vertical, not diagonal, and not like randomly, having some things here and there. But what it allows us to do is then have more kind of semantic understanding of what you're working with. And so the fact that we can do this is a function of the fact that we are a database and that each row is not just an arbitrary horizontal set of cells, but we know that it's a thing with a name and it usually has like, an image or other attributes. And so you can kind of lift it out of that spreadsheet metaphor and then transpose it into a gallery view. We have a form view, the Kanban view I mentioned, where you can actually drag between different categories in a workflow. And then of course with the, I think with the blocks, it becomes really powerful
I like
to visualize.
the map. I like the map block. Give me another block. What's another favorite block you got?
So, there's a few others that are kind of visualizations. This one's sort of a more powerful one where you can actually create a custom page layout. So you can actually design the exact...
It's like a mail merge.
Yeah. So it's even more powerful in the sense that, I haven't played around with mail merge for a while now, but what you can do with this block is actually design like almost a custom print layout. So more like, I think it's InDesign is the product that you use to...
it was what PageMaker used to be.
Right.
If you were doing graphic design in the 80s or 90s, you would use something like PageMaker or Quirk Express to lay out a magazine or a menu. Here, you're saying I could put my menu items into an Excel table, essentially, like a spreadsheet, but then the output could be a beautifully designed specials menu that I just print.
Exactly. Yeah, so I think that's never really been done before, right? Is like, with these, so my favorite product in that space was Printmaster Gold, which I doubt anybody has.
I know Printmaster Gold. I remember Printmaster.
It was the free CD that came with my computer.
The real use case of Printmaster was my parents, when they got me my PC Junior, said, here's Printmaster. Well, I got Printmaster.
Yeah.
And I said, look, I can make
Christmas
Christmas
gold
cards.
or just the Printmaster?
Oh, I don't remember. It was a hacked copy, if my memory serves me correct. But you could print on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper a custom Christmas card.
Exactly.
And fold it twice, staple it, and now you had one with a printout of a tree and the person's name and a whatever.
That's exactly what I did as well. Like basically you would print.
But the gold maybe made a database.
Right. No, I mean, at the time I remember like inkjet printers, you would basically wait 5 minutes and then it'd be dripping with kind of
it's great.
ink. But you would always have to kind of hard code whatever values you were putting in there.
Sure.
You would design one card, or at least I never figured out how to do otherwise, but design a card for, uncle or aunt, whoever, and then print that one out and then you go back and revise it. And what you do with Airtable is actually have a list of all those recipients in a table that you're already using for some purpose. So in this case, you have all of these, let's say, event staff members or food items, and you're using that in your existing workflow. And then suddenly now you get to connect in this custom print layout that just always constantly in real time actually re-renders the kind of new content. And you can either publish this, embed it, or even export it to a PDF or print it,
And you start thinking about like, hey, I'm a caterer. I've got a catering business.
Yep.
I have to print custom menus for the Calacanis party tonight or the Jackie party or the launch incubator party. And they always print those custom menus.
Right.
Here, they could just all be done. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, bang. You just put it right into Airtable.
And we've seen a ton of use. I mean, people doing business cards for their company employees. Like each one gets like a little bit of customization.
All right, so we got the block that is, you download it from the App Store. The one for the map. You did the one for the output for printing. What else you got?
Yeah. So
what else you got in that little app store?
Really interesting is, so the previous two that we looked at were kind of like views, right? Like different ways of visualizing your existing Airtable content in new ways. I think where it gets really crazy is actually when you think about these apps as true apps. And so one example that I really love is what we call our Cloud Vision block. And so this actually taps into Google's Cloud Vision API, which is obviously this incredibly sophisticated, millions of kind of lines of probably code or data, that went into train this AI AI system and largely inaccessible to most people if you're not a programmer, right? Like if you can go and build an API integration or use their API, you get power to access it. But otherwise, it's completely, kind of inaccessible to you. What we're able to do with Airtable and with this block is really almost just kind of wrap that with this GUI that allows you to plug that into your existing workflow in Airtable and then be able to use that however you want. So very specifically, this is a lost and found use case, which actually is very much directly inspired by a real one from Insomniac. And what's really awesome is that you can, for instance, imagine that, after every festival, you have all of these lost items, like people ditching their, baseball cap
you lose
or
your
a
backpack,
purse or whatever it may be. And,
furry boots.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a huge challenge of like, how do you tag and categorize? If you only have 5 items, whatever, you just remember. But if you have 50,000 or even 1,000, you're not going to be able to remember if somebody calls in and says, hey, do you have that card? You're not going to go walk around and try to inspect every single one. So what you could do is take a picture of each one as it comes in. And rather than having to have somebody sit there and type out what it is, this is an Oakland A's, jacket with green color, whatever, all the possible keywords you might search for, you can actually basically go into our block and set it up to take that list of items. And actually here, I think the API key is invalid, so I won't be able to show this right now. But the idea would be that you could basically take that, take that content and then send it off to Google and then get back from Google's Cloud Vision API what it is. So it would actually say this is a beige jacket, leather.
So now it's like my Google sheet is connected to APIs in the world.
Exactly.
I could see this being very powerful with something like if this then that or Zappier. Sure. Are those blocks now in the system or no?
Yeah. So
or are you supporting them already?
We support them already, and they've both been fantastic partners to us. I think we've done a lot of stuff with is it Zappier or Zappier? I don't know if
I'm going to go with the French version.
Right.
In
Yeah,
France,
it sounds
we call
classy.
it Zappier.
It's like the Target.
Magnifique. It's the
Zappier.
Yeah, you call it Zappier if you want. If you're like a heathen.
Right. Well,
Zappier.
I think it was a Midwest
Magnifique.
company by origin. So, but maybe it's like the LaCroix thing.
Zappier.
LaCroix. You
gotta get
the NYSE Fizz stock ticker company. I think so. Zappier has been fantastic. That we've worked with. I think there are lots of incredible workflows that people have built around, automation of like if you upload a file into Dropbox, then you can have a Zappier trigger fire and then create an entry in Airtable. And now potentially you could also connect that to this Google Cloud Vision and actually figure out what's in that image, right? So
you could do something creepy like if somebody posts a photo to their Instagram, then put it in Airtable, save it forever, then look it up online and figure out what's in it, and then that's super creepy.
Yeah, maybe the less creepy version would be like, it's sort of a digital asset management use case. You're a photographer. You're constantly like uploading lots of photos.
Here's what I want to do. I want to get my drop cam on there.
Okay.
Put it outside the Cala compound. Well, there's already a camera outside the Cala, a couple cameras. But anyway, I want every car that goes by to identify that, then hit the license plate, then put it in Airtable, every license plate that goes by my house.
Right.
And then tell me when somebody goes by 2 times in the same hour. And all kinds of triggers. You can do something creepy like that.
So I'm not going to condone or encourage any particular.
No, it's a big controversy.
And I don't even know. I don't know what the legality of that would be.
It's totally legal.
I think it's illegal. Or legal?
No, it's totally legal. You're on a public street, and it's my public property, so you're in view of it.
Yeah.
There's no expectation of privacy, but it has become a very. I think Berkeley might have done it, or somebody did it in Piedmont or something. But all these communities now, if you go on their next door. There's all these discussions. We had it in Hillsborough, the town where I live, where I think they have wound up installing it, but there are these systems that track all license plates because we had break-ins for some period of time. And so you can track every license plate. You can then whitelist the people who live there.
Right.
And then you can see who doesn't live here. And then what are they doing in the neighborhood. So it's almost like creating a gated community. Without putting up gates, because you could alert the police department that this person who's never been here before is now in the place.
Right.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's
but this
theoretically
is the stuff that's
possible, right? The Cloud Vision API will actually transcribe text even from like relatively grainy or kind of like real world photos. It's crazy just the amount of sophistication that is developed in the AI world. And we think that the real potential is like to take all of this development and progress that's been happening out there that's largely only exposed through APIs and sort of make that accessible to everyone else.
All right, here's a couple questions. Guillermo's asks, is there an email to Airtable in the works? Can I email stuff to an Airtable? You know how you could email to your Evernote?
Right.
They give you that little hash. Yep. Do you have that for Airtable? Can you email to Airtable?
We don't today. I think you can do it with Zapier.
You could do it with Zapier. Sort of that's a better way to do it.
We love Zapier. I mean, they...
or if this and that, both do it.
Yeah, exactly. I think, we've done a lot of kind of leaning on those products to achieve a lot of this extra functionality and these workflows. I think for email in particular, I mean, we actually today have an email and an SMS block that are powered by, I believe, SendGrid and Twilio, respectively. Eventually, I don't think you can do this today, but the idea would be to allow you to send texts or emails out from Airtable. So you have a list of staff members, you want to give them an update that their scheduled time slot is tomorrow at X o'clock. And as well as, kind of handle inbound emails and sort of insert those potentially into records.
Connie Connors just gives a statement. Hey, Howie, he needs a lot more sample videos on their site. He needs some good PR from Connie Connors, Connors Communication PR in
awesome.
New York.
Oh, yeah.
It is a point, though, like, because there's so much to do here, how do you market and educate people about Airtable, or do you just let your customers do the marketing for you? In other words, these geeks who are making these templates and they get all excited about it because it's got virality built into it. Is the growth of Airtable the function of some marketing effort, or just the customers haranguing their coworkers into using it?
So I think it's both. I mean, I think...
I like the haranguing method.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's definitely a huge part of Airtable's success today, and I do want to emphasize, it's that the word nerd or geek can sometimes have, a certain connotation or like you have like a certain stereotype, but we found that there's actually a wide diversity of different people who it's more about like the desire and kind of, energy to go out and kind of innovate within their company. So, there's a beautiful example of at a major Fortune 500 retailer, for instance, a woman who is the director of basically textiles sourcing for the company. Just went and basically discovered Airtable nights and weekends, built this incredibly sophisticated workflow in Airtable to basically manage their textiles and fabrics and collaborate with designers. And so and actually through her, I think we now have hundreds of other active users from that company.
Because she shared her table.
She shared her table, but also more importantly, she kind of became sort of the inside evangelist that also showed other people how to solve other problems and new use cases with Airtable. So,
and this is really the future, I think, for young people listening. When you get into the workforce, unlike, 50 years ago where they said, here's what you're going to do, come back in 40 years when you're done. And then 20 years ago, and they're like, hey, here's what you're going to do. It's going to change every couple of years. You got to, go back to training to learn the next Excel 5.0. Right. Now you go to work and they're like, we don't know what you need to do, but stuff's got to get done. Yep. And we don't know who's going to do it. We don't know who's responsible. Right. We don't know how to solve it. But good luck. And we've got 27 competitors. Oh, wait, no, it's 42. There's 20 more got started today. Like, you have to be resourceful. And this is like a Swiss Army knife in a way.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's actually...
You feel comfortable calling it a Swiss Army knife, that it could do so many different things, right?
I think so. I mean, I think we like to use the term Lego kit because in some sense, you can actually... You are building something of your own creation, not just using it in different ways.
Minecraft for business.
Yeah.
I like it.
Admittedly, I've never played Minecraft, so I can't speak firsthand to
Neither have I. This is my dad joke whenever... Because, it's spread everywhere now. Right, it's a virus.
Totally, yeah.
So anytime I see a kid with a Minecraft shirt on... like my daughter's class, like second grade, first grade. I'm like, what's that? Like, it's Minecraft. I'm like, what's Minecraft? They're like, Minecraft? It's a thing. And they try to define what Minecraft is. It's like you go there and you build stuff. And I'm like, why would you do that?
Right. Sounds like Habitat for Humanity.
It's pretty hilarious. It's pretty hilarious. Hey, are these blocks that you added, the little app store you added, is that something you've built all the blocks, or you have third parties building them? And is there a revenue model to incentivize people, or is it all free for people who already are using your software?
Yeah, so all of the blocks today are Airtable built. And part of that is because we want to make sure we get that experience for the developer before we open it up. And then, if it's a suboptimal experience, we've kind of now ossified some of the poor initial design decisions. So for kind of the immediate future, we want to continue dogfooding that platform and also kind of learning about, kind of as we push its edges out by trying to do new and different and more powerful things with the platform to kind of actually kind of create that feedback loop and push the platform out further. But definitely the the big vision is for sure to create a true app store model where we can really have this lively ecosystem of people who are far more creative than ourselves or have insight into new use cases that we don't ourselves understand. For instance, it'd be awesome if a cattle farmer did come in and create some cattle farming specific block. And basically maybe it's some custom visualization or integration with like RFID chips on their livestock. But we would love to create a world where, anybody out there with, a creative idea about how to make a software workflow better can come in and contribute value and hopefully get paid for it.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Do a little 70-30 split. You get a little 30 taste, yum of all that innovation going on. Can people sell their templates? So in the example you gave of the Fortune 500 retail, and the woman executive who created the template, she gave it away for free. Very nice. But could I create like an entire template and say like, hey, it's like my WordPress theme.
Yep.
I want to get paid for it. And I update it. And are there Airtable consultants now in the way that there were Excel and other consultants out there? And do you have like a program for that? Because it sounds to me like, some people would love to have this infect their corporation, but they may want to have a consultant come in and Airtable for them and kind of start them at second base.
Sure. For sure. So we don't have a formal consultant program or, kind of Salesforce has like an MVP or admin, kind of special training program.
Facebook has embeds.
Yeah. I think it's something that we're definitely considering over the kind of medium term future. What we find is that today, we're getting enough organic adoption from people within the company kind of becoming that evangelist and sort of expert to where we don't necessarily need to have a third party do it. And obviously it's more authentic and it's an easier kind of internal sell for somebody there who understands the company's culture and processes to be able to evangelize it. On the other hand, with the templates, I think what's interesting is that we've seen a lot of people just want to share their templates or ways of doing things for free for thought leadership purposes or just out of altruism for the same reason that you might contribute to an open source code project if you're a developer on GitHub. So we actually
might also get back some nice ideas. If you put an idea out there, what I've learned is the more ideas I put out there, the more goodwill it builds and the more comes back.
For sure.
So when I share, hey, I invested in this company and here's why, people write back and say, oh, but do you know about this competitor? Or did you ever think about this market or adding this feature to that? I'm like, no, you should talk to the founder. So you put out and you get back a lot.
Exactly. Yeah, so we actually have a product called Airtable Universe, which is sort of our version of GitHub public repos. And it's a way for people to publish their own templates, but to also, it's kind of it's a very aesthetically pleasing kind of format when you publish it. So
I noticed it on the site.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
So thanks. And we want people to kind of editorialize it. So it's, it's not just a template in a generic sense, but here's the story of how we use this system to manage UX research at this multi-billion-dollar company, for instance.
Your last company failed?
So
or went sideways? What do you got? Acqui-hire? How would you define it?
Basically, it was a kind of a crazy story. I was fresh out of college. I was actually 20 at the time. I graduated a little bit young for my grade.
Where'd you go to school?
So I went to Duke.
Very nice. Yeah. Look at you. That's the Ivy League.
I think it's technically not the Ivy League.
No?
So if
that shows you how much I know about the Ivy League.
A real Ivy Leaguer, they'll
all right, they have a good basketball team.
Right, exactly.
All right, just under the Ivy League.
I think technically, it's what they call the Ivy Plus, which is to say that it's a whole term they've created, but I haven't really stayed.
All right, so you go to Duke, you graduate a little early, you got this company, and it wound up getting bought by Salesforce?
Yeah, so basically, kind of a crazy story. So came out of college, knew I wanted to do startup stuff, had the fortune of kind of knowing some of the folks from Freestyle, who I think you mentioned.
Of course.
Maybe that
my
was
boys at
original.
Freestyle.
Yeah, but had gotten connected to them before I graduated, and kind of got some exposure into tech through that. But pretty quickly after I came out, wanted to do my own thing. Went through YC, kind of hired a small team, raised a little bit of round, and the product itself was sort of in some ways a precursor to Relate IQ, or even today a company. A personal relationship manager that did a lot of intelligence around pulling in your LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter.
What was it called again?
ETACTS, TACTS. And the long story short is that like we actually we were a small but really awesome team of we thought 4 people. We actually were making some traction, making progress with the product. But early on, we had a lot of acquisition interest from a variety of companies. So consumer social companies were interested in kind of the relationship graph angle. Certainly B2B companies like Salesforce, but also the other players in that world were interested from like a CRM kind of standpoint. And so, we actually had, the majority of our runway, some pretty decent prospects for kind of continuing on as an independent company. But one of the realizations I had at the time was, we really only had like maybe a couple chess moves of planning ahead of us. And so, there was some fuzzy notion of what the kind of eventual market could be. But we certainly, we would be fooling ourselves. We said that we had 10 chess moves planned out.
In other words, you could see where it could go, and where it could go was not far enough or exciting enough.
Well, I would actually say that there was potential upside to make it exciting. So if you kind of really squinted, you could see kind of like this big kind of exciting outcome. But it was more like there wasn't a clear path or charted out path. So it's kind of like I think LinkedIn is a good example of a company where the business plan that predated the launch of the product actually was so prescient that it actually foretold almost to the dollar the growth rate and like all of the projections for like a decade to come, right? And so they had kind of figured out like the exact strategy and the business plan and like every step for like in that case like 20 chess moves ahead. And we just didn't feel like we had that, partly as a function of not having necessarily the operational experience and acumen of
So what, you start a sales process, or somebody just says, hey, you want to take a meeting?
Well, I mean, honestly, it was all inbound. So I mean, from day one, I mean, for that company, we had launched on a TechCrunch, Mashable, whatever, and because of the excitement of I think the product space that we were in, I mean, we had inbound from all probably 5 or 6 of the top kind of companies almost immediately, and then it's one of those things where if you maintain that relationship, they keep kind of pinging you every once in a while, seeing if you're interested. And
that is how it works.
Exactly. So at some point,
so finally, you took the money.
Yeah, we decided like it would be a good learning experience, and that really, for me personally, I wanted to kind of come into my next company with kind of the perspective and experience and insight that would really give me kind of that longer, multi-decade long kind of confidence to work on something.
And just a programming note, I just remembered Freestyle Capital is not just the boys there. They hired Jenny.
Yeah.
She's amazing. She just spoke at one of our conferences. So I said the boys over at Freestyle, but I forgot that it's not just Dave, Samuel, and Josh.
Yeah, Jenny is
now they have Jenny, and she's amazing.
A former entrepreneur herself.
She just spoke at our event.
It's like the...
So the team at Freestyle.
Yeah.
We had to be very careful about gender-specific words.
Right.
The team at Freestyle Capital. All right, listen. We've learned a lot today, Howie, about you. Mm-hmm. You're very enthusiastic about your startup, Airtable. It's obviously printing money. Mm-hmm. And I missed out on a 50x and potentially 500 or 5,000x. You're undervalued, even though you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars to the company. It's $800 a year for the professional version, but you get in it for as little as 10 or 20. And Blocks is the new amazing product from Airtable, where you are going to be able to make your own apps and share them with other people. And maybe he got a little taste in the secondary, doesn't want to comment, but hey, let's just say maybe he can afford half a house in Silicon Valley.
I'll say this. I was
maybe
fortunate,
half a house.
Well, I'll say this. I was fortunate enough to have an exit prior to Airtable. And
so you don't need to.
Right, exactly. And
so maybe somebody got a little taste.
Because it's, well, I mean...
What are your feelings on it generally? Because this is a big thing. When you get to these big rounds, get to Series B, that opportunity emerges. What's your feeling as the founder with the rest of the team who hasn't had an exit? Do you feel it's a good thing to give your team the ability to sell 10, 20%? Or you are against it? Secondary sales.
I think it depends. I mean, I think it really just depends on the motivations. I mean, again, in our case, I think some companies sort of in their heart of hearts know that, after the most recent funding round that they're overvalued, and, maybe it's a good idea to kind of sell off a little bit at this price.
Idiot insurance, we call it in the business.
Or it's just a good deal, right? I mean, if you fundamentally believe the expected value of your company is less than what you're getting in terms of the price you can sell for, then that's just kind of a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, people at Fab.com or One Kings Lane, 2 retailers that got to incredible heights and then collapsed.
Sure.
Or, Nasty Gal, there were a bunch of them that just got overvalued and then undervalued probably.
Right.
If you had sold high, you probably felt smart.
Right. I mean, I'm sure the VCs probably weren't too happy.
Well, I think famously Sophia Amorosa did sell a big chunk, and then the company went under. So she looks like a genius.
Right.
a genius.
I don't know the details of the company, so maybe they did have a lot of upside. Maybe they were undervalued.
So, as the leader, what do you think your advice is to other founders? If your founder friend was talking and said, "Hey, I did my Series B. Should I let people sell a little bit?" How would you look at that?
Yeah.
What would your advice be?
Well, I mean, there's a few things. One is that there's actually a ramification on kind of all existing and all future employees. If you allow, for instance, common sale, because the second you sell common at this higher price, so typically like what you're trying to do is say that the common stock is worth less than the preferred stock that you're
because
selling
it typically is because it's illiquid.
Right. Exactly. And you get a preference on the preferred stock, right?
Right. So when you do your 409A, it's going to be lower.
Right. Which is great for employees. You want it to be as low as possible.
The employee strike price is lower, so they can
Exactly.
buy at 10 cents even though the shares might have been 50 cents or $1.
Right. And not have to pay tax, on that spread, right? So, if you were to allow common sale in a secondary,
yes.
it immediately kind of jacks it up. And so kind of, there's one side of like, it's definitely a net negative for future employees if you were to do that and affect
because their
common.
strike price will be higher because
Exactly.
common has now set a price in the market.
Right. And then I think separately, it just kind of comes down to personal situation, as well as, fundamentally whether you think the company is vastly undervalued or overvalued. And if it's undervalued, then, in fact, you're like basically giving something that you believe the expected value is, say, like $100, per share away for, call it $1 a share. And so that's just like a bad deal.
It's like folding aces pre-flop.
Right, exactly.
We're like, it's kind of a good hand, or ace, king, kings.
Right.
You might want to get in there and see that flop.
Right.
Good things could happen for you.
Yeah, exactly.
See a couple more cards, as my friend Chamath always tell me. Maybe let one more card turn over.
Right.
See what happens.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially, I think when you're at the point where a company is, I would say that for Airtable, it's safe to say that we've found product market fit in droves, right? We have, this incredible revenue growth, and we frankly didn't have to raise the round that we did. Oh, what?
A sales team, or does it just sell itself?
So it mostly sells itself.
But what about that enterprise? If I got to spend $800 a
so
seat,
we
don't I
basically have an
expect to sell?
inbound inside sales team. So
Is that what the next thing is? You got to build a team to go out and sell it?
So I don't think we're going to have to do the outbound sales for a while. I mean, like Atlassian, for instance, basically got to almost $1 billion in revenue before doing any kind of like real
What a company,
sales
huh?
function.
Ooh, I'm in HipChat right now. I love HipChat.
For sure. I mean, even
I'm old
Dropbox,
school.
right?
I use HipChat, not Slack. I use Slack for one. In fairness, I use Slack at one company. I use HipChat at another.
Yeah. So you get a little taste of both worlds.
Well, I also have my Pixel 2 XL and I have my iPhone 10. I use both because I need to be up on this.
Yeah. I mean, I think...
so you'll maybe have to get one when you start to get to hundreds of millions in revenue.
Right.
It's
I
going to
think,
be necessary.
we'll sense it far before we hit the wall, right? I mean, we'll know, this is the time. And Slack, for instance, kind of, I think, started doing it at probably the post or around like slightly before the 100 million ARR mark. So I think it's a far way off before like that becomes a bottleneck for us growing at an aggressive pace. But point being, I think when you're at that phase where you have... strong, kind of cash flow and strong cash flow growth, and you're pretty confident that will project, forward for a pretty long window, just kind of by default. I think you'll always obviously have plenty of opportunities for fundraising again, and hopefully at higher and higher valuations that better reflect kind of the true expected value of the company. And so, I think advice for folks considering secondary is just, it's basically like this choice of, do you sell something worth $100 for $1 today?
Yeah.
Or do you, potentially wait and now, maybe 5 years down the road, 1 year down the road, it's, $20 at least.
As the founder, I think if you know the company's value is increasing rapidly, it is a logical decision to not let your team sell because it's in their own interest to not sell. Because sometimes people make short-term decisions like they go and take the chocolate ice cream out of the refrigerator and put a scoop of peanut butter on it, like I did last night.
Right.
And I know I'm not supposed to do that. But peanut butter on chocolate ice cream is incredible, Howie.
Right.
But I shouldn't have done it.
Is it
and
really
I
that
felt
much worse
terrible.
than either peanut butter or ice cream?
It's terrible because if you start putting that really good Justin's peanut butter on that really good chocolate ice
So
cream,
you eat more in total.
for sure.
Yeah.
Because who wants to eat a scoop of peanut butter alone? That's not interesting. And a scoop of
feedback
chocolate
loop,
ice cream is delicious, but man, you put the peanut butter on, you go crazy. This is what happens. People see all the marshmallows, the marshmallow test. They're like, oh, marshmallows? Let's go. Let's roast them. And then they make a bad decision.
Right.
There was a famous person, take it easy over there in engineering, laughing at my metaphors. This is, you're doing a good job when the engineering team can't keep it together. I was literally witness to an early investor of Uber who needed to get liquidity, and they sold at a $3 or $4 billion valuation, half their position, only to see the $10 billion position happen under a year later, like 6 months later. And one of the great things that Travis did was to not let people sell, because it made everybody who was a shareholder rich, because he forced everybody to just be patient. This thing is on a tear. Don't sell.
Right.
And I think it's very wise. For the first 7 years of a company, selling is, if it's a growth company, is a mistake. It's a huge mistake. Most people may, if you invested in Amazon, Netflix, and Google, when they went public, forget if you missed them as a private company. From public on, you would be thrilled.
Right.
There are people who sold their Google shares before it went public. They sold their Netflix shares, I'm sure. I don't know for certain. I know for Google they did. There are people who probably sold their Netflix shares before it went public. I know somebody who sold Facebook shares before it went public. Maron.
Yeah.
Huge mistake.
For sure.
Hold. All right. In wrapping up for a second time, Howie's a great founder, second-time founder. Airtable is rocking it. And amazing companies use it. Tesla, BuzzFeed, Airbnb, Slack, Target. Over 3 million databases created, and blocks are out. 27 different blocks already. And more to come. How many people you got over there?
On the team?
Yeah.
About 40 people.
40 people,
Growing
which makes
rapidly.
it delightful. And now it's about to get arduous for you, because Howie, you are going to have people in that company who you didn't get to meet.
Right.
And they work for you. You're going to get in the elevator or the lobby, and somebody's going to come up and say, and they're going to know what they're going to do? They're going to say to you, who are you? And you say, I'm the founder.
Yeah, well, hopefully that won't come
That hasn't
for
happened
another
yet.
few hundred. But I think it's a matter of intent too, right? You can choose to dedicate more of your time to really getting to know everybody on your team.
Good luck. You'll see.
Yeah.
Once you get above 40, it gets
we're
hard.
definitely figuring out the org building side of things, right? I mean, we've built a product, we've built a business. Both of those things have a lot more to kind of grow, but ultimately the big, kind of thing to figure out now is like, how do you build a great organization, a company that's more than a sum of its parts?
That's the second part of our interview.
Yeah.
That's I could give you a whole bunch of. Here's my little pro tip. This is how I used to handle it when I was getting up towards 50, 100 people. I like to eat food, as I mentioned, with the chocolate peanut butter. I would say, I'm going to go out and get a burger. Anybody want to get a burger with me?
Yeah.
And 4 people would say yes. Or I walk up to a random group of people, like the design team or the editorial team, whatever. I'd say, hey, I'm going to get a burger. You guys want to come with me?
Right.
And all of a sudden, 6 people would come. And I don't know any of them, but I have a burger with them.
The serendipitous and lightweight.
Just keeping it light, easy breezy. I still do it to this day. So I'm like, anybody want to get a burger? And you know what I'm doing? It's a test. If your boss says you want to get a burger, he's not asking you if you had lunch or not. He's asking, he or she, in my case he, if they're asking, are you smart enough to go spend an hour with your boss? Whether you've eaten a burger or not, the correct answer when your boss says, hey, you want to grab a burger? Is, sure, boss. And then you go and you just fiddle around with your salad, but at least you get to spend an hour with the boss.
Yeah.
That's golden time. I've literally had people say, no, I ate. And I'm like,
It's not really about the burger.
you
I'm
ate?
surprised.
Yeah, like, hey, dummy. It's not about if you've ate. It's about spending time together. All right. Everybody, go to airtable.com if you haven't tried it. It could be life-changing. I mean that sincerely. We've started using it, and some people are getting a little kooky about it already. I just don't want to get so kooky that I'm paying $800 a year. I'm going to be shipping you 10 dimes soon. I got 10 people here.
Hopefully we'll create far more than that in value. So
That actually was with the Asana calculation, the HipChat calculation, Typeform, SurveyMonkey. A lot of these, WordPress, Squarespace, a lot of these, you start looking at it and you're like, wait a second. If I were to do this on my own some other way,
Totally. Especially if it's
Much more
replacing
expensive.
the cost of like a full-time, engineer, for
Yeah,
instance.
an
You have to
FTE.
either spend your own time or hire somebody.
$150K.
Totally.
$100K. You could be saving money.
Yeah.
There you have it, folks. Go check out airtable.com. You're going to love it. All right. Thanks, Howie. And thank you,
you
Emmy
for
Award
having
producing. Thank you. Emmy Award-winning producer, Jackie. My pleasure for having you on the show. And we'll see you all next time on This Week in Startups. Bye-bye.